Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Ask Swami with Swami Sarvarpyan under September 24th, 2017. If I sound weird, because I'm sick. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the video started.
We will first take some questions which have come in from the worldwide audience, the virtual audience. And then I will ask you to raise your hands. I'll ask you to come forward. There is a chair here and a microphone here. And you speak into the microphone, tell us your name, and ask us your question. Now, first, would you kindly read out some question from the internet audience?
We had many questions.
Is it audible?
Is it on?
It's audible? Yes.
We had many questions on karma, Swamiji. And the first one is from Elizabeth D., who comes from a Roman Catholic background. If we are reborn, do we get exactly the same piece of consciousness in the next life?
Ooh.
Let the soul that we have, i.e., the soul that we have right now.
Actually, that is the thing. I kind of had a question some time ago, like your karmic. How do I say? When I first started this, a little bit after I first started out, I've been wondering, it's like, do you get the exact same memories? You know, your telltale sign, like if you twitch a little bit whenever something happens or whatever, you know. I'm wondering if you're kind of just like reborn in the body, kind of the same as you were before, you know. Even with your knowledge intact. That's the thing that was kind of like I didn't quite understand. And I mean, I didn't really watch too many videos. I did watch some in Rebirth, but they explain how one, we're all Brahmins, so we're all one and the same. And yeah, I don't know how to really it's still very difficult to understand how rebirths work. Do you, again, like I said, do you get all your memories, everything that the only thing that left your body is literally your body, but your memories, your karma, which I know that transfers over, but how does it know where to go? And it gets a little bit more confusing when you add the fact of Brahman, when everything's Brahman. And then you're like, well, how does it work? I've talked about this a few times in the very beginning of this channel, and it's kind of iffy. Anyways, let's see what it says.
All right, Elizabeth. The first thing that we have to understand is, when you say if we are reborn, do we get the same piece of consciousness that we have right now?
Well, I understand that everything is just one big piece of consciousness.
Who gets reborn? You, first of all, change this paradigm. You are that consciousness. Yeah. You don't get a piece of consciousness. It's like asking, do I get a piece of the action when I'm reborn again? You are that consciousness. You don't get a piece of consciousness or lose a piece of consciousness. And second, consciousness has no pieces. What you are referring to is the mind. So, in the understanding in Indian philosophy, there is this physical body. Here we are, what you can see and touch here, the physical body. And there is the subtle body within.
Yeah, that might be it.
Mind and intellect and memory and the personality, the little person.
The little
That's
I.
the subtle body within this physical body. And beyond that is the consciousness that you are. At present, we are not aware of the consciousness as an independent, unchanging entity. What we are aware of is the body and mind, and we have become identified with that. Yes. We think, this is who I am. At death, clearly the physical body dies. But Vedanta says that the subtle body, in fact, every religion will say this, what is called the soul, the subtle body, that does not die with the death of the physical body. That's the one which is supposed to go to heaven or hell or other worlds and then come back again into other lives. So when you are reborn, what are you? The consciousness, the pure consciousness, identified with one subtle body. So when that subtle body comes back in a new physical body, you are the same consciousness and the same subtle body, which has gone from one body to another body.
All right, you might see me pause a bit so I don't cough into the mic. Okay, and here's another thing I thought of some time ago, but I didn't really say anything about it. Is that are you ever really free? Is your true self ever really free? I don't remember if I've asked that or not, because until this existence stops existing, you're forever locked into this infinite cycle of death and rebirth, whether you're enlightened or not, because until existence stop existing, you are forever dying and being reborn. So as long as existence exists. That's tough to say. But I guess it is the subtle body that's the real question that I had. It's not necessarily the Atman or Brahman, but the subtle body. And then does that stay with you?
According to Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta, the pure consciousness does not go anywhere. It's all pervading. Where will it go?
Yeah.
It's the subtle body which travels from place to place, from world to world, body to body, life to life. Yes. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
So the soul, I guess the question is, what is in the subtle body? I guess it's really weird to say that your memories are in a subtle body when your memories are part of the body, I would assume. Or actually they did, I guess, no, they kind of separate that, where your physical body is one thing, your memories, your attitude, the little I is the subtle body. How you act, maybe your memories? I'm not sure there. I don't know what specifically goes into the subtle body. They've said it a few times, and I guess I didn't quite grasp what is the construction of the subtle body. Is it all your memories? Is it all your personalities? Is it your little, I don't know, what else would there be? Your emotions, your little tics, things that upset you, things that makes you happy, all emotions, all memories, all thoughts, how you think. Is that all part of the subtle body? And then just the physical body is just the physical body, the actual things that you can physically touch, as opposed to like thoughts and emotions. Even those are chemicals, part of the physical body, but maybe in this version they're separate as like the subtle body. Now that's the confusing thing, because I've always understood even your thoughts and your emotions to be part of the physical body, because you can inject, obviously you can inject stuff into your body to make you very happy or very sad, and your thoughts are just electrical signals going back and forth in your brain, bringing up memories. And if someone were to, I think if you do an MRI scan while you're thinking of something, they can see the electrical waves. So I've always thought that to be the physical body. But let me know. I think emotion, thoughts, what all compiles into the subtle body.
And Arijit asks, if whatever we do is karma, then does whatever we think also come under karma?
Yeah.
If so, then if one's thinking is not as good as one's actions, will it be considered as bad karma? I think doing good is good karma and doing bad is bad karma. Is this the way karma can be defined?
You're right, Arijit. Thinking thoughts is usually not taken as bad karma. So if I think a bad thought, is it bad karma? No. It's like this. What you do consciously, that generates karma. So for example, I have a desire to eat a sweet, and I've got diabetes. The doctor has told me not to eat a sweet. If I have a desire to eat a sweet, the doctor is not going to criticize me. But if I go ahead and eat that sweet and satisfy that desire, then the doctor says, stop, don't do that. The doctor has no problem with you having a desire to eat, because you cannot control the desire. The desire comes up from within. But if you act on it, then that's something the doctor will catch you for. If somebody has a bad thought, even a murderous thought, well, that's not good, but that's not yet bad karma. The police are not going to get you, but if you try to put it into practice, then the police will be after you. So in the world and in philosophy and religion, people don't actually catch you for what desires bubble up in the mind, what thoughts bubble up in the mind. What you translate into speech and action, that you are responsible for. Having said that, there is a point to be understood here. Thoughts may bubble up in the mind, but if I entertain them, then I have some conscious responsibility. What happens is if I entertain those thoughts and keep them going in my mind, I don't take the conscious decision to shunt those thoughts and bring in good thoughts, noble thoughts, better thoughts, positive thoughts, and keep on dwelling on negative thoughts, bad thoughts, harmful thoughts. Then what happens is, whether it's bad karma or not, that comes later. What happens is, what we dwell on for a long time, that becomes an ingrained pattern. And what we dwell on consciously in the mind, that inevitably, after some time, will be expressed in speech and action. Then it becomes karma. Dwelling on something consciously and thinking it's private within me, nobody knows, it's a bad thing, but it's all right. It's secret within me. The thing is, it generates a momentum. And there's a momentum to express it in speech, to talk about it and do it then. It's much more wise that if something you recognize to be negative, something that you feel you should not be entertaining it, immediately replace it with some other positive thought. Divert the mind to something better, something positive. A negative, harmful thought, replace it with a positive, useful thought. You see, treat the mind as not as yourself. Treat the mind as a machine. Why would you want the machine to malfunction? When it is going off track, like you're driving a car, it's going off track, you correct it and bring it back on track. Do that with the mind. Distance yourself from the mind. Don't become identified with the mind. When you get too involved with the doings of the mind, then you will be forced to speak about it, and then it becomes almost unstoppable. It comes out in action. Then it becomes karma, and then it's bad karma. All right.
Okay, so I've always taught that your thoughts are also karma, good and bad thoughts. Is there, I guess, maybe a little bit more to it than just merely thinking of something? Doesn't necessarily mean you have good or bad karma, but perhaps dwelling on it, maybe? My understanding have always been your actions and your thoughts are karma, whether they be good or bad. And I was going to say, I guess a good example is that if you keep dwelling on it and thinking on it for so long, it'll eventually come true because you're almost like you're manifesting it to become reality because you believe in it so much. Whether you're actively trying to believe it, but you're just constantly repeating it, eventually it's going to happen. That's what I was thinking about whenever you said that, you keep dwelling on it. It's like you're making it into a reality. There's people out there who believe that, I forget what it is, that they're going to hurt themselves. So they take extra precaution and putting up every knife, sheltering every knives, hiding all the sharp edges and whatnot. And by being so overly cautious, they end up hurting themselves because they're so particular about everything that they end up causing the thing that they're trying to prevent. They end up making it into reality.
And Sri Kumar asks, if Brahman is residing in me and elsewhere the same, then why is my karma my own?
Yeah.
Why am I not inheriting the karma of others, nor am I able to share?
I guess this goes back to the subtle body. It's the fact that it's really weird to say because, again, there's nothing separate from Brahman. Everything is Brahman. And to say that there's this soul or subtle body that is individualized, separate from Brahman or from us, that it's like there's a duality going on there.
All right. This question, it might sound metaphysical and philosophical. Remember, all that we discuss here is not merely metaphysical or philosophical, intellectual. It may be philosophical and intellectual. But all these philosophies of India are what are called moksha shastra. They are philosophies of enlightenment. So they are all relevant to us because we are spiritual seekers. So when such questions come, don't dismiss it as, oh, it's theoretical, oh, it's philosophical. No, it's related to something that's of great use to us in spiritual life. And often I've seen somebody asks a question, a third person who is sitting here might be benefited by the answer. Often these questions are our own questions. So here is a question. If Brahman is the one spirit, one reality dwelling on everybody, then why is other people's karma, why is it not my karma, or my karma is not other people's karma? Here you must distinguish between Brahman, the infinite reality, existence, consciousness, bliss, which we just heard the beautiful song, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. From the individual, Brahman associated with one body-mind. That particular soul, that particular subtle body, pure consciousness limited by that subtle body is called an individual. In Sanskrit, jiva.
Jiva.
Pure consciousness limited by one subtle body. And each jiva, we are each of us one jiva. You might say, but you just said we are all Brahman. Truly we are all Brahman. But right now in our experience, in error, in Maya, we are individuals. Can you deny that you feel like an individual? You cannot deny it. I feel like an individual. I see all individual beings around me. These are called jivas. Jiva means an individual sentient being. These individual sentient beings have their own karma. The karmas are particular to each soul, each subtle body, which goes from life to life. We accumulate karma and we experience the results of karma in each life because of this soul which goes from life to life, this subtle body. Brahman is completely untouched by karma. You as Brahman right now, as Brahman, if you really realized yourself as Brahman, you would not feel the effect of karma at all. Karma works on the body-mind. Vivekananda, I've quoted it often, good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. Good karma, the result is happiness, pleasant life. Bad karma, the result is misery, sorrow. And all the mixture of happiness and sorrow we are getting now is a result of our past karma. Good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law, but whosoever wears a form means a body. Whosoever is an individual, whosoever wears a form, wears the chain too. Those are Vivekananda's words. The chain that is tied to our feet, the chain is past karma. A load of past karma is on us, and the results are bound to come. We cannot stop it. Then what good is Vedanta? What does Vedanta do for us? How do you get free of that? Next line, Vivekananda says, but far beyond name and form is Atman ever free. Know thou art that, sannyasi bold, say Om Tat Sat Om. Right now, right here, as Brahman, you are entirely free of karma. The moment you know that, you are free of karma. The moment you step back from body and mind, take a stand in the spirit, in Brahman, you are free of karma. So that's what Vedanta does for us.
And the last,
I was gonna say, I guess another decent example would be it's kind of like he gave one with the donkey, I believe, walking around the tree because it had the rope around its neck. The donkey was just walking around. All of a sudden, it realized it didn't have the rope. It thought it was tied up, but it wasn't. And then it just it was free the entire time. He just didn't realize it, essentially. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that example. It's the fact that I guess maybe when we were born in this world, we observe the world and realize that all these donkeys or people walking around this tree chained up, and we end up doing the exact same thing because everyone else is doing it. So we just follow the crowd. It's like, let's find a tree and walk around it and pretend we're chained up until we realize, like, wait a minute, I don't have to do this. I'm not bound to this life. I'm not bound to this tree. I'm not chained to this tree or tied to this tree. I'm free. I can, well, I don't want to say free like roam the world, but, you're free from the boundaries from the karma of the world at the very least.
the last question is from Deepan. Many people do evil actions but receive good things and are prosperous and happy. You may say they may yield results in their future life, but most of us don't remember our past lives or actions. So how will it matter if we get misery in this life for past lives' action, but don't realize or know it and cannot relate to it?
Right.
And then he goes on a little more.
Yes.
How do you prove the concept of life after life, that the soul does not die, keeps taking birth, and the law of karma related to it? How to rationally accept or believe, or is it just a faith philosophy?
I want to see if I remember correctly from all my learnings. Again, this is the reason why I pause. I try to spew my knowledge to see if I've learned anything. I have a feeling it's going to say this is how you just kind of justify the bad things that happen in our current life. Like, how else can you explain that besides your past life you're either doing something bad or something good? How do you explain the good that happens in your life or the bad that happens in your current life? Especially, when you think about like children or babies who don't really make it past a certain age. How do you explain that? To me, that is kind of like almost like a way of almost like faith in some sense, because again, do I believe in rebirth? I don't. But there's been stories out there that's really, really weird. But again, I talk about people saying you don't believe in anything, experience it. So I've not experienced my past life, so far no rebirth. But I think it's a way of comforting people to say, it's really weird to say that, oh, they deserve that, they must have done something bad in their past life, but yeah, that's a really weird to end up on that. But it's just the sheer fact that you kind of, whatever you've done in the past, you end up getting it in this current life, and that explains the reason why, even though you may have not done anything bad necessarily in this life, all your past karmas are catching up to you to pay off your debt, I guess you could say, to pay off the bad karmas that you've done or the good karmas that you've done.
All right.
That's a bad
I
pause
see
for
three parts in this question. One is, why do good people suffer and we see people who are pretty evil, they're having a good time? How do you explain that by karma? And as the questioner goes on to say, we look at not only one slice of time, one life, but many lives. The suffering I have now, the good things that happen. By the way, you notice that how we ask, why am I suffering this? We never ask, why am I enjoying this? The good things that happen in life, the misery that I get in life, I don't see how I produced it. It comes from past lives.
Yeah.
And the karma that I'm doing now, which will have consequences in future lives. Now, a person who is evidently not a good person and still is having a pretty pleasant life, having a good time of it, and you see many such people, that is because of some good karma in the past lives. That's why they're having a good time now. But that good karma is getting exhausted very fast. And the bad karma is accumulating. And one day, disaster strikes these people. Everything collapses around them. And then suffering begins. And that suffering goes on life after life.
I guess a good example maybe would be like if you look at like drug dealers or whatever who build up empires like mafia or whatever, where they're building up this empire. They're bad people doing bad things to other people, and they're living this good life. But was it Al Pacino? I don't know the names, but there's a mafia guy in America that had been caught, and they're trying so hard to catch this person, but they couldn't catch him in anything. And eventually they did. Threw him in jail for like a tax evasion or something like that, but could not catch him on other things. And you could kind of say that's like karma catching up, where he's doing bad things, doing drugs, and I don't know what else he's doing. Maybe offing some people, and then eventually that all comes crumbling down. I don't think that thing is still alive today. The organization, I'm not sure. But I guess that's a kind of a decent example of, a bad person enjoying something, and perhaps karma kind of caught up with them a little bit quickly.
God is merciful. I remember this philosopher who was a very interesting thinker. He one of my friends, another young monk, he was telling me about this philosopher who used to stay in one of our ashrams in India. So this monk said, this philosopher was a unique thinker. So one day, this monk, my friend, he was standing in the ashram in Calcutta, looking down on the street where this beggar was standing. And the beggar had only one leg. And he was standing with crutches, and he was begging for money. And this philosopher, who could apparently move like a cat, you would hear him coming. Suddenly, this monk hears a whisper in his ear, "Feeling sorry for him, are we?" And the monk sort of jumped out of his skin, and he said, "Yes, I feel..." Can you hear me? "Yes, I feel sorry for this person, the beggar down there, because he doesn't have a leg. And why is it so cruel?" And the philosopher said, but if only you knew what he had done in his past lives, then you would be rushing down there to cut off his other leg."
Oh, jeez.
God is merciful. Now, this seems a very harsh thing to say.
Yeah, no kidding.
But that's a very different way of looking at it. So,
Real quick with that one, though, the problem is you don't know what they've done in their past life. I mean, what exactly that needs to be done for someone to lose a limb? Could it be just stealing something and limb off, or could it be something much worse? We don't know what kind of judgment or karma payment, I don't know how to call it. What kind of punishment is deserved for what kind of bad karma that you've done. So maybe he kicked a kitten, I don't know, and then he lost that leg the next life. I don't know what, you get kicking a kitten, that much karma, bad karma. Kicking a dog, I don't know where the scale is. So I guess this is the reason why you shouldn't judge people necessarily. You don't harass people or bash people for, even if they're suffering, even if you think they deserve it, but you don't know exactly what they've done. So I think by you doing that, you develop bad karma yourself. So it's obviously not a good idea to do that anyway.
yes, there are consequences. We see sometimes consequences for such people in this life, and the consequences extend into future lives also. Now, the second part of the question is, but we don't remember. What good is it if it extends into future lives? What good is it if I did something bad in my past life and I'm suffering now? I don't remember, I don't connect it. Your question seems to be, so we don't learn anything from it. You're just suffering, right? What you are saying is, we don't have memory of past lives. So what good is the law of karma as a moral tool? How do we learn from it? Remember something, it's very interesting. If you notice our lives, we really don't learn from memory. We make a mistake, we understand it's a mistake, we do it again. Every time you repeat a quarrel with your mom or dad or wife or husband, you see that you have had this quarrel 100 times earlier. And every time you realized it was useless. But you go ahead again. Memory does not help us. A person who gets into trouble, maybe an addiction, maybe says something nasty, or something happens, and regrets it. The mechanism of regret, guilt. You see, it's very interesting. I did it, and later I wish I had not done it. The same conscious agent does it and wishes that he or she had not done it. And yet, in many cases, we go on to repeat it. It's the story of human life. Many of us, we repeat the same mistake. Memory does not teach. Mostly it does not. You know what teaches? Experience in the form of samskara. Tendencies accumulated in past lives. Every child is born with that. You see children, as they grow up in the same family, they are different from each other. Some people are by nature good-natured. Some are by nature generous. Not because of memory that I was stingy in my past life and I was unhappy, let me be generous in the present life. Not thinking consciously like that. Just a generous nature.
I will say something about that. That is kind of curious. I wonder how I developed myself, how I got my tendencies. I was thinking, did my parents pass this on to me? And I don't think so. I'm wondering, did the environment? I mean, generally speaking, I do believe in, was it nature and nurture? Nature being, I think, your surroundings, and nurture being, nature being a bit more outside of your surroundings and your genetics, and nurture being your close family and your culture. But I was thinking, like, how did I develop my my humor, my whether I'm kind or mean to people, or my demeanor, or all these things. Like, how did I develop this? Was it taught to me? Was it how did I learn this? How did I develop this? And essentially, this is what it's kind of talking about here. It's like something I did think about. It's like I don't think I was ever taught to be nice to people. Or did I learn that from experience? As in, I realized I don't like being treated badly, so I treat people nicely and hope to get treated nicely in return.
Just a kind nature, just a cruel nature, just a jealous nature. What is this nature? Prachina karma sanchaya. Prachina karma. Ancient karma is upon us in the form of our tendencies. You want to know your past lives? It may be scary. There's one way, without getting memories of your past lives, there's one way of knowing your past lives. Look at your tendencies in this life. That reveals something of what we were in our past lives. Generally, this past life regression, there might be something to it, but what makes me suspicious is everybody in the past life was either Cleopatra or an emperor or some tragic figure or something like that. Nobody was a washerman, nobody was a farmer. Yeah, there are stories of past lives. Anyway, we'll not go into that. But so these tendencies we carry from life to life, that's what changes us. And those tendencies, how do we acquire them? Through suffering, unfortunately. We acquire those tendencies through experience in this life. There's some great desire to enjoy something. Maybe I really love to travel. Okay, so I travel a lot in this life. Next life I'm born, I have no memory of having traveled a lot, but I'm not particularly interested in traveling anymore. Some satisfaction has come. So is it only through experience? Is it only through suffering? There is another way. The wise person gets this through practice. Whatever you have practiced consciously in this life, you will get in the results in the next life also. Practice meditation assiduously, not working, next life a great meditator. Practice musician, mediocre musician, next life a great musician.
I was going to say that, like, I watch a few musicians in YouTube that are really, really cool. They have, what do you call the, I can't remember what it's called, but basically they can listen to something and then recreate it, like, right there and then. Again, kind of crazy. Do I say that's something because of their past life, or is it something genetic? Something a genetic screw up in a good way? Where they can listen to something and then just mimic, or music theory, I guess is what they call it. A lot of things where there's generally a pattern to music, so it's very easy to listen to something and replicate it. But
those things come. Child prodigies. How do you explain?
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Music, mathematics, language, polyglots, speaking 20 languages, 30 languages effortlessly. So, what you practice consciously, that's why conscious spiritual practice never lost. Krishna is asked by Arjuna in the Gita, 6th chapter, suppose I do not get enlightenment in this life, then is it all wasted? All the prayer and meditation and study and good deeds? Krishna says, never. Nahi kalyana krittata durgatim kaschit gacchati. The one who walks on this path of enlightenment, this path of welfare, well-being, of the truly good path, nothing that this person does, he or she, nothing is lost. You start from where you left off. If I do not get enlightenment in this life, nothing is left. Nothing is lost. Next life, I start off where I left off. I may not remember. What happens? Krishna says, at death, this person goes to heaven and has a very nice time of it, because a spiritual practitioner generally is a good person. So you have done a lot of good things in life. The result of that you get as a pleasant life in heaven. That's good. Then what happens? That too comes to an end. In Hinduism, there are many heavens. Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, there are many heavens, many hells. But all of them come to an end, no eternal. And you come back again to this life for another crack at enlightenment. And when you come back, Krishna says, Karyate riyate hi avasho apisa. This person will be swept along helplessly by the force of past practice. You may not remember having meditated. You may not remember having had the company of holy people. You may not remember having memorized verses and verses of Upanishads, Gita, Bible, or whatever. But that force is there, and you go ahead in spiritual life. So, my answer to that question is, we do learn lessons. It works through experience and what is called samskara. People change through samskara, not so much through memory. Memory of past lives not really helpful. Somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, I think Sister Christine or Nivedita, can I get memories of my past life? And Swami Vivekananda scolded her, said, sufficient unto the day the evil thereof. You cannot deal with the problems of this life. You want to invite problems of past lives? What do you think your past life was? It'll be another version of this. Enormous problems. And they come back, guilt and problems and frustration and suffering and old age and disease and death. You want that? Once again? The last part of the question was that how do you account for past lives and future lives and karma? Is it all faith, or do you account for that? Very simple. I think I'm going on too long for each question. Very simple. I'll give you straight answer for that. How do you account for the law of karma? Is it taken on faith? No, it's based on causality. Each cause must have an effect, and whatever we see in our lives must have a cause. Why? Because the alternative is meaninglessness. Alternative is meaninglessness, just accidental. There's no cause. So causality, we accept causality in every aspect of life. Science is based on causality. Common sense is based on causality. Everything is based on causality. Why would you not accept causal in a moral sense in life as good karma, bad karma? And what about many lives? It is just an extension of the law of karma. A lot of effects we see in this life, we cannot explain it by one life. There must have been past lives. A lot of things happen in this life, we don't see the results. We must have future results. Technically in philosophy, Indian philosophy, it is called Akrita Abhyupagama and Kritanasha. Akrita Abhyupagama means, the Sanskrit word means, arising of something that has not been caused. I don't do anything, I get the results, if there are no past lives. And Kritanasha means destruction of what has already been set into motion without giving results. So if I do something, good or bad, and I have no more future lives, then what about the results? I did not get what I deserved, good or bad. So these are the two logical faults which will happen if there are no past lives or future lives. Accepting the law of karma. A little bit of faith helps also. A question from the audience?
Okay, I'm going to actually pause it right here for the video. So I want to add one thing there in terms of my belief in karma, and it's mostly the Western belief in it, I guess, which is that because I don't necessarily believe in reincarnation, again, I have no experience of that, I don't know it to be true, so I'm not going to just believe it, is that I do believe in karma. It's very evident. And generally speaking, if you're terrible to some people, obviously they're not going to treat you nicely in return. If you're mean to someone in high school or treated them badly in high school, then all of a sudden when you grow up and you try to find a job and then realize that the CEO of the job you're trying to get is the person that you treated meanly, you are not going to get that job, or you're going to be scrubbing toilets for a long time and never raise up, never go above that. So karma, in a sense, you know, it's not necessarily always immediately, but you know, it'll take some time sometimes. And then, of course, when you watch those YouTube videos of instant karma, that's kind of funny. Gotta love those. So anyways, at least this is part one of this reaction. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.